Welcome to
Neapolitan
Scoop Podcast.
My name is Steph.
My name is Shay.
And my name is Rose. Thank you for tuning into the Neapolitan Scoop Podcast, where you will get your weekly scoop. If you have not subscribed to the podcast, what are you waiting for? Go and subscribe right now. Today's topic is work-life balance. According to Mental Health America, while we all need a certain amount of stress to spur us and help us to perform our best, the key to managing stress lies in one magical word: balance. Not only is achieving a healthy work-life balance an attainable goal, but workers and businesses alike see a reward. When workers are balanced and happy, they are more productive, take fewer sick days, and are more likely to stay in their jobs.
All right. So let's get to these questions. I'm just going to start off with something I've always thought. So what is an acceptable work schedule? So if you can have it anyway, what would be an acceptable work schedule? Granted, you have to work. This can't be one of those situations, but if we had a good acceptable work schedule, what would that be?
A flexible work schedule. And by that, I mean, like, I'm allowed to work 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon, and 3 hours or 2 hours whenever I have the time.
Are you going to work 40 hours a week or less than for?
I'm going to work my 40 hours if I'm allowed to choose my hours. If I'm allowed to work 2 or 3 hours a day, like, maybe one day is a 10-hour work day, maybe another one is not. So I'm going to work about 40 hours if I'm allowed to pick and choose when I want to work.
Okay. Steph?
I think we just need longer weekends. I just think 2 days is not enough. So my ideal work schedule would at least have 3 days off at the minimum. I think in situations where employees can potentially have the flexibility to create their own schedule, like if it's a job that just requires you to do the job, it doesn't, at your own leisure, at your own time. And I think employees should be able to say, okay, well, today I want to work these hours, today I want to work those hours. It's like, why place the restrictions if they're not necessary? It kind of gives you that I don't trust my employee type of vibe, when you restrict them to say, oh, well, your schedule is 8 to 5. Well, why does my schedule have to be 8 to 5 if I want to come in at 6 and leave at 2? Why can't I do that? But and then it goes back to control thing too. So I think my ideal work schedule would just be flexibility.
Yeah, same. Granted, just thinking about everything I have to do in a day. I remember when COVID happened and we had those 10-hour shifts. So you work 3 days, 4 days, and you get the 3 days off and you just work the 10 hours to get your 40. And so it's like, that was cool, but then thinking about like, if that works for me right now, probably not. I mean, being at work from 8 to, what would 10 hours be from now?
Like 7 in the afternoon.
Really? Did we do that?
Yeah. If you don't 8 to 8 would be 12. So yeah, 8 to 7.
So it's like 6. So if it's like 8 to 6.
Okay. And that's no lunch.
Yeah, that's not bad. Is it really with no lunch?
8 to 6, no lunch. 8 to 7 with lunch.
It sounded good. Now it don't sound so good. Because if I can't eat and then take time to eat, that's a problem. Yeah. It's the one I have to work and eat. I don't like doing it, but you do what you got to do. But if I could choose, I don't want to do that. So I think, just having that flexibility too. Like if I could work from home, that would be ideal. Maybe start work a little later on. And just didn't, like, as long as I finish whatever my subjects were or workload, whatever that was for that day, as long as I finish it, it shouldn't matter how I break it up into pieces,
Right.
That would be ideal because I hate having to travel to work. Every day I drive to work, I'm like, when can I retire?
Man.
Honestly, if you think about it, like, you wake up, You take about an hour to get ready, to get dressed, to get, everything together. Then you spend another 30 to 45 minutes in traffic. Then you spend another 10 to 15 minutes parking and walking to the site. Like at that point, you're already stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm tired already. Your mind is already overwhelmed. So by the time you get to work, you're not even performing at 100%. Versus if your job doesn't require you to physically be in the office, if you wake up, you turn on your laptop, you get to work, you're going to put in more work. You're going to perform, your performance will be better than if you have to go deal with traffic, deal with parking, deal with people. So like, I feel like the amount of energy you put into your work is going to be a lot better than if some of that energy has to go through the struggles of trying to get to work.
And I don't mind coming into the office 2 or 3 days a week, but 5 fucking days out of the week, that's too much.
But and that's where I get the flexibility part at, because it's like, if I don't have to give you to come into work, give me the flexibility to make that decision every day. Like, do I really need to come into the office today?
Like, on those rainy days, it's like, dude, it's pouring today.
But you know what's the
you're working, and then we're at the office.
That's what I was gonna say. That's the worst. Like whenever it's like, well, you have to come in, but it's those people up there that they're at home. You send them a little chat or a Teams or something, and guess who's not in the office today? But we have to drive our asses out here. No, I don't like that.
It's 2023. It's just so much. Like, I can understand back in the days when you didn't have laptops, you didn't have Teams, you didn't have all these methods of communication. Like, I can understand you have to be physically in the office in order to communicate with people. You have so much technology nowadays that doesn't. I mean, and honestly, the employer benefits from it too, because it's not your electricity that's being used.
No building rental.
None of that. So at the end of the day, I think when people make people come to work when they don't have to, it's just a control thing.
It really is. And I think it's like what I've heard is, one person screwed it up for the rest of everybody else. So that's why now everybody has to come in. It's like, hold them accountable. Fuck them. If they're the ones that fucked up, write them up. Like, why does everybody have to suffer because of one person? Write them up. Make them come to work every single fucking day until they do what they have to do. But I know, if I clocked in, if I tell you I'm in, I'm in. I'm doing work. Like, my work days are sometimes 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 6, and it's like, now your ass got to pay. Because maybe if I would have been at home, I would have worked the same time and probably wouldn't charged you 10-hour workday. But since your ass now made me come to work, I'm going to clock in and out. Like today, I didn't even have a chance to take a lunch. And I was there from like 7:30. So
I got there at probably like 8. No lunch. And then left at what? 5:45? So from 8 to 5:45. That's what you want to pay me? Cool.
Yeah. That's how I felt too. It's like, you want to waste my time, I'm gonna take your time.
Yep.
Why is work-life balance important? I think it's important because you get to do all the things. It's like you don't want to work all the time. You want to make time for your family, for things that you enjoy, other things that you value. To not say I don't value my job, because I'm grateful for it. But at the end of the day, it's like I wanted to be doing other things that do not take up majority of my 24-hour day that I'm given. What about 8 of it's going to be slept away? So it's like, you need people who understand.
I don't even get 8 hours of sleep.
I don't get it either, but I need it. I don't get it either, but I definitely need it. I mean, like the ability just to take off when you need to for whatever reason without having to feel guilty for it. People have time to use for things, and you still got to feel weird when you get ready to ask for time off. Like, well, how much time do you need? When are you coming back? It's all in the email.
It's my time.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know. I think the importance is because it not only leads to happier people, it leads to a happier, better work culture. when you have, like you just said, like they make you feel some type of way for using your time, but they sure as well don't want to make you feel some type of way when they ask you to come do some overtime or come work,
Right.
and then you're not gonna get paid overtime. We're just gonna give you some more comp time, and it's like, nah, I'm not feeling that comp.
Lick. You know, we got all
Yeah,
this comp time. I'll take it because when I
yeah,
take it, you're gonna look at me like, oh, where
yep.
are you going? What are you doing? How about what, 2
Like
weeks?
none of your business. The
But when I was over here slaving, collecting this comp time, it wasn't a problem. Come on.
Mine's
But
just it's the worst when they sit there and ask you, like you said, why you need this time off. And you're like, oh, it's personal. Well, we need to know the details of what's personal about it so I can decide if we're going to approve it.
That's not true.
Why?
That's not true.
Girl, that's what I had got one time. I don't get it no more. Not no more, but back then.
HR, because you shouldn't be asking what the fuck I'm trying to do with my private time.
Mm-hmm. But
Nope.
those before we got an HR.
I told them that in class. We just got an HR like 6 months ago. They said, what? I was like, we just got an HR. They said, what kind of place?
Baby, you have no idea.
It's the ghetto.
Wow. Let me see. Why is work-life balance important? I think it's important because too much or too little of something is never good. So, and I am, you know, sometimes people are like, you know, like, why don't you just stay at home and, you know, take care of your kids? Why do you want a job? Because too much, you know, personal time with family. Like sometimes you need to get away. You need to go mingle with other people. You need to go to work. So that's why I said too much of something or too little of something is always going to imbalance you. And like there's times when like literally I'll go to work just because I want to get away from home. And then there's times when I'm always at work and I'm like, I need a vacation, you know? So you just have to have that balance between the two, because if you don't, like if you put too much time into work, like you're going to lose yourself. The same thing at home. If you put too much time at home, you're going to lose yourself too. So I think it's important because I mean, you have to have a balance with both of them. So that is what I think when it comes to work-life balance, and that's why it's important. It's important because it keeps you sane.
Yes, I think I like that. It keeps you sane because I think, at least for me, getting some type of balance has been hard. I think, like Shay said, because they try to make you feel guilty for not, you know, doing certain things that maybe for me it was once my position changed. I was like, I don't need to. It doesn't require for me to be here all day. Why am I going to be here, you know, from sun up to sundown? And it was like, oh, well, you know, back in the day, you used to do. Well, yeah, that was back in the day when I needed to do it to keep myself sane. And I don't know. I don't like when employers try to do that. You know, try to make you feel guilty for maybe changing into trying to balance your lifestyle. I don't like that.
Well, you know, I had the situation where, you know, I was expected to work all kinds of hours and all kinds
That's
of
crazy.
weekends. And you know, when I was actually asked, well, actually I said, they said, what was it? Let me see if I can quote them. But it was
The receipts.
well, why do you need to be off X amount of times and X amount of days in a week, and why can't you do this and why can't you do that? And I said because I can't work a late night shift and then turn around in a day shift, because it is mentally healthy for anyone. Because number one, you have to get sleep. And our bodies are conditioned to have sleep at the same time every day. If you notice, if y'all, even with the time change, you know, it's like we're all discombobulated right now.
It's a real thing, though. Shoot. It's a real thing.
It's dark. It gets dark outside, so your brain is telling you it's time to go to sleep. But really, just a day, just yesterday, this same time was daylight, and your body was telling you it's time to go to sleep, and it really discombobulates you. So your body has to get used to this new norm. And this individual did not understand that. I'm pretty sure they understood it. They didn't want to understand it because they create a very work-life balance for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you said, they try to put you on this guilt trip and try to put this fear in you, you know, to where, like you said, you could get all this anxiety when you want to take off, and you take off and you're not really enjoying yourself because you're thinking, oh, you know, they're probably thinking, you know, I don't want to do my job, I don't want to do this, and you know, you fear that you may your job or they may have something negative to say. You know, they put you through this whole guilt trip.
Yeah.
And it's like, but they'll go take a vacation. They'll leave at 2:00.
Yeah.
You know,
they'll work from home.
Not on the weekends.
One thing I have learned just from working all kinds of jobs and working is like, at the end of the day, there's always another job. There's always somebody else willing to help. So,
well, God want me here for some reason. He ain't let me leave yet. So I don't know what type of sign that is. But
hey, what?
I said, but for some reason, God want me here. He ain't let me leave yet. I don't know what type of sign this is. I tried to leave. It's nothing there.
What kind of test and struggle he wants me to live through?
It be like that sometimes. Sometimes you're there, or maybe you're still there because you haven't realized a certain thing that needs to be realized. But I will say that being stressed out over a job is definitely not worth it. It's not worth the memories that you fail to create with your family because you have to be at work, or when you're at work all day, you're all stressed out and you come home and you take it out on your family. Right. You know, they're looking at you like, well, what's wrong with mom? What's wrong with dad? You know, you're all stressed out because you have all these things on your mind. Yeah. And there are things that you can't get back. Like, you can't go back and be a part of whatever event it is that you missed out on. And that's, again, what makes work-life balance hard. I can't remember what the question was. But yes, definitely not. Go ahead.
So do you believe work culture would be different if work-life balance was valued? I think so. Definitely.
I mean, I think work culture would be different if employers value their employees, which is a part of work-life balance. Like, if you value your employee, you're going to value
what's best, right?
Right. So
you're going to value their time. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and imagine if you, as an employee, you feel valued, you're going to want to come to work and do your job because you know that your employer actually values you. You know that you're an asset to that company. But when there's here putting you through this guilt trip, you're sitting there like, well, I'm like, am I a value to this company, or am I just a burden to them? Like, you know. Yeah. So those are my thoughts.
I feel like it'll be real cool to work at Google for some reason. I just feel like they have like a really lit campus, because, you know, they call them campuses. They don't call them work location branches. They're called campuses, and they just look like they're welcoming. They have like lounge areas and like gyms and coffee places inside the freaking campus. I think
it's a stress-free environment. Yoga and everything.
Free. Like, who wants to work in a stressful environment? Like,
apparently we do.
Nobody. I'm like, she said, apparently we do.
I signed up for a building with no windows.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, I don't.
The ghetto, like I said.
So that's fun. I might have to look into Google. You go.
Do they have any areas here in Texas? Maybe in Austin. I feel like every.
They have some in Texas, because I think I have a cousin that worked for Google.
Oh, would you even look up Google campus? No, you would like
jobs at
Google quarters. We can't even put headquarters, because you can't even put headquarters, because it's gonna take me somewhere else.
California somewhere.
Are you really Googling it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep, look at her.
Yeah.
Yep, look at her.
Because I was just curious, but it ain't really telling me nothing.
I was like,
They're like,
I'm
don't
sure it's
find
somewhere in
us.
Austin. I'm sure it's somewhere in Austin because everything that's like cool and stress free is in Austin.
yeah, I think they do. But yeah.
Okay.
That's cool.
But I will say, like, I've worked in places where, like, the culture was very, it was a good work culture. You felt like
Yeah.
were valued, you felt like people cared about you. Even things as simple as extending a happy birthday to somebody makes a difference.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Don't like working for someone and your birthday passes and nobody says anything to you.
Yeah.
It's
Shout
like,
out
how
to
did
my last boss with Mimosa Fridays. I miss that. Yeah,
I've
Fridays.
had employers bring you gifts for your birthday, a card.
Yeah.
It's the thought about it. It's like, oh, you actually think about me outside of me being an employee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That definitely makes a difference. Like, when people go through things like deaths in the family, anything of that nature, like just coworkers getting together and buying a card and putting their name on it, giving a couple of dollars, like that stuff makes a difference. Like it makes you want to stay at a job because it's like, okay, again, I am being valued here. They care about me. So that would
Right.
make you stay. But when like no one cares about you, you're gonna want to go to a different place because it's not gonna be
Right.
hard to leave a place who doesn't value you.
Yeah.
That's true.
So we want to thank you for tuning into our podcast. Again, if you enjoyed our content, please subscribe to our channel. Go do it now. Like and comment. We love feedback. While you're at it, go follow us on all streaming platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Podcast, Spotify, Pandora, and iHeartRadio. You can also find us through Instagram and TikTok. Go follow us now. Also, if you have a topic that you would like for us to discuss, or if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, feel free to email us. Again, thank you, and see you next week for your weekly scoop. Hey.
Bye.
Bye.